All right. Hey, this is Bob Biggerstaff, and this is the first episode of my new podcast. Not exactly sure what I'm going to call it. Maybe something like the Bob Big Pod, something like that. The Big Bob Pod. I don't know. But my
Bob's
first
Big
episode, if any of you people know me, if you've seen my comedy act or listened to any of my other podcasts, you know I'm really into movies and martial arts movies, and I just out of the blue happened to email somebody that I've been a big fan of, and I'm not lying on that, Ken. Been a big fan for years, Mr. And if you're a fan of martial arts movies, you might not know this guy by name, but you definitely know some of the things he's done, Mr. Kenn Scott.
Hi, Bob. It's great to be here with you today. It's great to
Two
be
N's,
number one.
Kenn. There you go. Episode
Yeah.
one. This is very exciting for me. Kenn
When
Scott.
I was a kid and used to collect comic books, one of the things that I used to chase all the time was just number one issues. It almost didn't matter what book it was. If I could go through a comic book con and find number ones, I would buy those when I was a kid. I just love number ones. So to be part of this number one, super cool, man.
There you go. Well, those are the ones that are worth the most, usually. But Kenn Scott, if you're not familiar with him, played the character of Raphael in the world famous Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first two episodes, the first two movies, I should say. Well, now I know I've read your book, and I know that, you know, we could say halfway through Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, and then you did all of 2 as Raphael. It's very interesting. Ken has a book out called Teenage Ninja to Mutant Turtle, Becoming the Real Raphael. Real R-E-E-L is in film. I caught that.
Yeah, right on. I actually had somebody once emailed me and said, "Hey, you spelled real wrong on your book." And they were like, and then somebody else emailed me and said, "What does it have to do with fishing?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even think that. I was right though, right? It's not.
No. Yeah,
not a fishing.
Basically, what happened was the word Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Obviously, I couldn't use that, and I didn't want to get in trouble. And I was like,
okay.
Let me tell my story. Teenage Ninja. That's what I was, because you now know the story. I did karate and all that. Then I became a mutant turtle, and somehow in that title, I had to let people know, because so many different performers out there have been Ninja Turtles. There's great VO guys that do the cartoons. There's all the actors that did the recent CGI turtle movies. And then there's all the original guys that did the turtles in the original movies, and the guys who did it in concerts and stuff. So there's so many different ways that you can be a Ninja Turtle that I had to figure out some way to let people know, well, this was from the movies. And I just thought, well, if I could say the real Raphael with R-E-E-L, I thought, well, that sounded cute, and it was a good pun, and that worked.
No, that was a great pun. That's true. I didn't even think about how you probably couldn't use the name. I mean, well, if you obviously paid a lot of money, I'm sure you could have put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on your book.
I originally wanted to call it Confessions of a Ninja Turtle, but I thought using the name Ninja Turtle in the title would get I'd get some kind of cease and desist. And I didn't want to risk that. It was just too much work to have to republish the book with another title and all that. So that's why none of the words like Teenage Ninja, that's me, it describes, and then Mutant Turtle, that's just a thing. So
you thought of that yourself?
I'm sorry?
You thought of that yourself, that title?
I did think of that myself.
No, it's a great title. It's perfect. I mean,
I wrote the whole book. I wrote the whole book, the title and everything.
No ghostwriter?
No, not at all. When I started the book, I actually started, hey, we can both show, look.
Oh, there you go. Even better. That's the real thing. I ordered it on Amazon. I ordered the Kindle version.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Oh, the paperback's super cool, man, because the pictures and everything in the back. But when I started thinking about writing this, I did think about a ghostwriter. A really good friend of mine is named Rick Myers. He's probably the world's foremost authority on martial arts movies. If you don't know him, definitely look him up. He hosts the Kung Fu Extravaganza every year for 26 years running at the Comic-Con in San Diego. Well, I met Rick after the very first screening of the very first Ninja Turtle movie. He was a magazine writer for Inside Kung Fu. And so he was the very first person that interviewed me from being a Ninja Turtle. And then we kind of stayed friends ever since. Well, Rick's a really prominent writer, and he ghostwrites for a lot of famous people. And so I contacted him and I said, hey, Rick, I've got all these great stories. Well, at least the people at the Comic-Cons think they're great. They seem to love them. how about if I tell you the stories, you write them, and we'll put out a book together. And Rick was like, God bless you, my son, but I don't have time to write a book with you, but you can certainly hire somebody else. It could cost this, or it could do whatever. And I write, it's what I do for a living. I mean, I'm a copywriter and a creative director, and I do all this creative stuff. And I was like, I was just being lazy. So I said to Rick, well, how many words does it take to make a book? And Rick said, well, a standard book, you probably get about 50,000 or more words in it. I said, okay. So I just started writing myself, and ultimately I got up to like 80,000 words and then edited it down to the 66,000 that the book is now. But it all started because I was looking for a ghostwriter because I was lazy, and then Rick made me do it. So, and I was very thankful for that.
Well, I think you did a good job. I mean, it's a professional book. And I mean, if you're writing about yourself, who knows better about yourself? And, you know, you definitely know it's in your words. But there wasn't any part in the book where I was like, well, that doesn't sound right.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like how it read. I mean, it read great. It was a great, actually, I just finished it a few days ago. It was very, yeah, that's really cool. You have it's an interesting story how you got into, I mean, you being a kid, and I think every kid, as you say numerous times in the book, you know, every kid wants to be like an action hero, or, you know, they want to be Rambo. They want, you know, at some point, every kid's like, I want to be the hero in this. And you were actually somebody that when you decided you wanted to do that, when you started like taking karate, and that you actually did it. I mean, a lot of kids have that dream, and you actually became a movie action hero.
Well, I mean, I chose a very silly path to take because it's just a very unique thing to really totally commit to. It's kind of fantastical. You know, it's similar to being like saying you're going to be in the NFL or the NBA or whatever, but the truth of the matter is there's a lot more players in the NFL and the NBA than there are action heroes in the movies.
Sure.
So I set out to try to get to that elite. I just wanted to play in the pro leagues. And I started ever since I was a kid. I saw it on the screen myself. I saw Chuck Norris and Sho Kosugi and all the ninja movies from Canon Films and all that. And I was taking karate, and I just thought, man, I can do that. And I got video cameras, and I practiced like the fight scenes that I saw on camera. And I mean, I used to dress up like a ninja and take pictures down by the creek with my dad that looked like it'd be in a Canon movie. Yeah. I just love that stuff. So totally committed to it as a kid, and just did karate and filmmaking stuff, and set myself on being an action hero in the movies. And it just so happened that as soon as I graduated college with a film degree, my very first job out of college was being a ninja. So I was like, well, I'm right into my field right away. Boom.
Yeah, that's something you obviously you discuss in your book. I mean, it's amazing that you were you weren't right next to it, but you were in the same state, and they built a film studio. And that film studio happened to, that you said they made some, Ninja Turtles was like the biggest thing they had made, wasn't it? I mean, up to that point, maybe they made some other things, but the fact that there was, if you'd been in Georgia, I don't know what is in Georgia, if you were, if you'd been in any other state, but you were literally, a 3-4 hour drive away from, where was the studio? Was it Wilmington?
Well, I was in North Carolina. I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is right in the middle of North Carolina. And then Wilmington, where Dino De Laurentiis built the movie studio, is in North Carolina, about 4 hours away from where I grew up, down by the beach. And I don't know about the biggest. I mean, obviously at the time, Ninja Turtles was not a huge movie. It was a $8 million budget or whatever.
Right.
And it was, at that point, for me, what was so great about it was they had actually shot the movie Raw Deal with Arnold Schwarzenegger down there.
Oh, yeah, you say that.
So when I was walking around the studio, I was like, oh, Arnold was here. I mean, it was like going to church. But yeah, they built a movie studio in North Carolina, and I was planning to move to Los Angeles to pursue my dream of being a movie action hero. And it just so happened that I was driving to North Carolina to try to get my break and work as an extra, just learn about the movie business. I was very much a self-directed learner. There wasn't the internet back then. So to learn about movie making and how to do it, you had to go to the library, you had to take classes, and you had to watch documentaries on PBS or luckily HBO if something came on.
We're talking like mid 80s, right?
Yeah, this is the 80s, me growing up. Yeah, exactly. So at that point, you're seeking all the information you can get. So I was doing everything I could get. I used to drive down to this movie studio. I tried to work as an extra on some super low budget movies. I was in Dracula's Widow and Collision Course. And if you look real close, you can find me in those crazy, crappy movies. It's super fun.
Oh yeah, Collision Course is Jay Leno and Pat Morita.
Jay Leno and Pat Morita in what was that, in Rush Hour, before it was Rush Hour. But it was called Collision.
Yeah, you made that comparison, and I was like, oh, I didn't even put that together. Yeah, that's. I mean, I put it together when you said that, but I'm familiar with that movie.
Yeah.
Yes, Jay Leno or Mr. Miyagi comes to America to try to get back some car supercharger thing that they made or something. And I remember Jay Leno, whenever he didn't like doing movies, not that he necessarily had to, but he had this joke he always said whenever somebody said about doing movies, he goes, why do a movie? You tell a joke, you find out if it's funny a year later.
Right.
He's used to getting immediate response.
Well, he certainly can say that because his movie career didn't quite work out. He tried, and then he became the big host that he was, but he was working movies for a short period. He would have loved to have been a movie star.
Of course. He said one of the reviews of his movies started with the sentence, Jay Leno, the pelican-faced comedian.
Right.
I remember him saying that stuff.
I was on the set of Collision Course, this movie with Pat Morita with him. I was working as an extra. And he wasn't the Tonight Show at that point. He was just some comedian. But he had been in a movie called American Hot Wax about the origin of rock and roll and Alan Freed and all that stuff. And I'm a huge fan of that music. I just love 50s music and 60s, all that stuff, old rock and roll. And so I knew that movie inside and out. And when I saw him, I was like, hey, you're in American Hot Wax. And the first thing he said was, well, that proves at least 2 people saw it.
Yeah. That's great. It was interesting when you said, and obviously tell me if I'm mixing it up a little bit, but you said you had, so at one point you were working for Domino's Pizza, you were delivering pizzas for someplace, and you kind of snuck your way onto the studio lot by saying you had a couple pizzas to deliver to production.
Yeah.
And then you overheard somebody talking about, hey, they're going to bring in this movie. And it was a kung fu movie or something. So you contacted the lady that you heard say that or something to be on her list of people to possibly be in this movie. Is that kind of the story?
That's it. Your book report is excellent.
And well, the reason I bring that up is because I was talking with a buddy of mine, and being a comedian, I mean, you can't say show business is show business, but a lot of times in comedy, a lot of people you see that, I won't say that get things, but all we're ever looking for is the opportunity to even perform in front of somebody. As a comic, it's like, I just want the opportunity to, get an audition at this club so I can perform there. I want the opportunity to do a showcase show where people from Comedy Central or HBO are. I just want the opportunity to get that chance. So, and acting too, you want that opportunity to at least, give me the opportunity to just have the audition. Give me my chance. Like you saying, when you got your chance to audition to be like a stuntman for Ninja Turtles, and you were very nervous, and they're like, well, show us what you can do. And they were like, you either do a kata or you do some fighting or something. And you were real nervous. And then you thought to yourself, wait a minute, this is what I've been training for. I'm ready for this. I just got to, calm down and just do it. And that's the things like comedians, I just want that chance to perform, give me the chance to do a set for the guy that books the Tonight Show, and I'll show him what I can do. I would just want that chance. So a lot of times, show business, and you started getting your chances by, if you want to say, sneaking into a studio, pretending to deliver pizza, overhearing this thing, contacting the lady, and then the lady gave you a chance to show your stuff because was she the one that, I know she put you on an extra list or something? And
yeah,
then
I got invited to audition to be a foot soldier.
Right.
In the original Ninja Turtle movies with all the other local karate guys in North Carolina. They called all the local karate schools within miles, and they put out a press release. So people came from as far as Chicago and New York.
Yeah, you even said some big name people came, or big name in martial arts world.
People that were doing karate on the weekends and going to tournaments and all that, this word went out. So all these people congregated under Wilmington, North Carolina this one day to audition and do their martial arts performance for Pat Johnson, who's a very famous martial arts guy.
He's the guy at the end of the Karate Kid with the mustache. That's the referee. Every person I would try to tell him who he was, whenever I said that, they'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, now I know who he is."
That's exactly how everybody knows Pat Johnson. He's the referee who goes, "Go to your sensei." Right. So so basically, this one day, everybody shows up. They've got karate uniforms on, kung fu uniforms on, all this stuff, and they're going to perform in front of Pat Johnson. Now, Pat Johnson's a badass. He has a small appearance in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. He plays a thug at the beginning who tries to beat up John Saxon. But then he
on the golf course?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Pat Johnson's the one that walks up and he goes, "It's the dough, Roper, or we got to break something."
That's right.
Yep. So that's Pat Johnson too. That's Pat Johnson early, and then you see Pat Johnson in Karate Kid. And so anyway, he was the stunt coordinator and fight choreographer for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. So he had just come off the success of Karate Kid, teaching Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita how to do karate. And now here he was on this other movie, which nobody knew what it was going to be. It was just a bunch of people in rubber suits, but Pat Johnson was a great fight choreographer. So here we go. So we all got a chance to get up in front of him and do our 1-minute martial arts routine or whatever it was. And shadow box, whatever each martial art discipline could do, Pat just wanted you to show off your talents. If he liked what he saw, you might be able to do, if you brought weapons with you, you could demonstrate your prowess with the weapons. And then if he continued to like what he saw, he would say, "Okay, let's do some reactions." And he would have one of his assistants stand up in front of you, and when you swung the punch at you like that, you had to react and take it like a hit. And then they'd kick you in the stomach, and you had to take it like a stomach hit. And now it sounds, to me, that sounds really easy because I've been doing that stuff my whole life, wrestling and martial arts and all that stuff. Right. But some people, you try to say, act like I'm hitting you, and you do it. They just don't know how to move quite right. So there's even a base barrier to entry of you have to be a fluid, moving person to be a stunt person. So anyway, we all auditioned for Pat Johnson. He tested our reactions. If he liked what we saw, if he liked what he saw, we got hired to be the Foot Clan. And that was our job in North Carolina, to be extras in the movie, $75 a day. And our job was to get beat up by the lead characters, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that was my first job out of college, being a ninja, becoming one of the foot soldiers.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. It's funny, you have from watching a few of your movies, you have a very distinct style of like taking punches and kicks that I've noticed in a bunch of your movies, especially when you if you get kicked in the stomach or something, you have a very distinct style of like flying back and falling down.
Well, I don't know.
I'm just saying it's similar in each one is what I'm saying. Like you have a certain style to it.
Well, I'm going to take that because that's my body. That's what it does. And what that means is you're seeing 100% commitment every time. And so if it's repetitious, it's repetitious, but it's 100% commitment to
No, I mean that, believe me, I mean that in the nicest way. It was, so then it's amazing how I know all this stuff is in your book. It's not like there's any spoiler alerts or anything. I mean, people should buy your book, but it's very interesting how you went from, being a stunt extra, if you will, stuntman. I don't know, what was the official title called? I know you were
I was a special abilities extra.
There you go. Special abilities extra, to eventually you're the main guy in the Raphael suit. I know you say there's like 3 or 4 different people. There's like 3 different people that wear the suit in the Ninja Turtles, isn't there? There's like the actor, there's the stunt guy, there's somebody who runs if you want to say the puppeteer. And then is there a 4th guy? The guy that does a voice. Okay. And you went from not even being one of them, being a Foot Clan guy, and then a guy got hurt, broke his nose, and couldn't put the helmet on, or am I skipping something?
No, you are correct. I was a ninja. Now, I had an intermittent ninja step in there where I went from being a special abilities extra to I became the nunchuck ninja, and then I became talkative foot number 2. And then from there, then I stepped up. So really quickly, for those that don't understand, that are listening to us maybe, the journey of trying to break into the movies, and my goal at the time was I needed to, start working in the movies, but I needed to get a Screen Actors Guild card. Right. That's sort of what you need that qualifies you to work on union work. And there's this kind of catch-22 that you can't work in a Screen Actors Guild movie unless you have a Screen Actors Guild card. So the only way to get a part in a Screen Actors Guild movie is to do something so special, like have a director fall in love with you, or a producer see you in a play and they think you're awesome, or be somebody that can shoot a bow and arrow off and shoot an apple off the top of somebody's head. If you're the only person that can do that, they will say, okay, we're gonna fill out the paperwork and you can get your SAG card, and now you can be in SAG and do whatever. So if for some reason you qualify yourself as a unique individual, you can get a job on a movie and get your SAG card. And that's how you break that whole cycle and get in. So for me, that was my journey. I had to get to a SAG card, much less becoming a super action hero in the movies. Right. I knew there were steps you had to kind of go through, right? Of course, I wanted to be discovered every day. I wanted somebody to just look at me and go, hey, Ken, come over here. Let's put you in movies. And stuff like SAG, the manager would take care of that.
Right.
But when you're chugging along on your own and nobody's really helping you out, you got to take each sort of step at a time. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I go from an extra to getting my SAG card? And I had to qualify in some way. So anyway, I wrote a letter to Pat Johnson that told him about my life's dreams and all that. And basically what happened was, the first thing that happened was they needed a ninja to do the nunchuck scene when all the ninjas invade April's apartment in the first movie, if everybody knows the movie well. And Michelangelo steps up in the first movie and he goes, oh, a fellow chucker, eh? And he does a nunchuck battle back and forth with this one guy. Right. I'm the guy in black doing the nunchucks back and forth with that guy. So because I did that and I was doing really well as a foot soldier, Pat Johnson came to me one day and he said, hey, we have this one part where a ninja needs to talk, and he needs to talk on screen and fight against this turtle. And we had another guy that was gonna do it, but he got sick. So if you could do it, that would help, you would get your SAG card. And I was like, hell yeah, please let me do it.
Yeah.
So Pat gave me the lines. He showed me the script and what the lines were. And it was a fight with Donatello. And the lines were, I'm going to turn you into turtle soup. And then Donatello says something, I don't remember what. And then my line was, but first I'm going to shell you like an oyster. And then I try to hit him with a sword and Donatello beats me up. Well, I got the part. I got to do that. And the day I got to do that, I had to fill out special paperwork that they sent off to SAG. And then I got a letter from SAG that says, okay, you can now join and be a member of SAG. And I was like, woo, that's freaking awesome. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Unfortunately, they cut that scene from the movie. So it's on the cutting room floor somewhere. But then, as you talked about, Bob, when that was done, because I have kind of shined in my position as ninja, there was a moment where the guy who was the stunt double for Raphael was shooting the scene in Central Park where he's meeting Casey Jones for the first time. And when Casey Jones pulls out a cricket bat and he hits Raphael, boom, and Raphael sails through the air and lands headfirst in a trash can. Well, when they shot that scene, they took the stunt guy that was playing Raphael, they dropped him headfirst into the trash can. When he came down, he broke his nose. The turtle head crashed down and came right across the bridge of his nose. And so after that, he couldn't wear the turtle costume anymore. So the producers were going crazy. They were like, oh my gosh, we need somebody to replace this guy. So they went to Pat Johnson and they're like, every moment we don't have somebody to replace this guy is costing us money. What can we do? And so Pat Johnson walked over to me. I didn't hear any of this. And he said, Ken, my son, come with me. And I went walking with Pat and he said, Nom. And Nom was the name of the stunt guy that broke his nose. And he was a friend of mine by that point. He was a good friend. And he said, last night when we were filming, Nom broke his nose in a scene and he's okay, but we need somebody to take his place. So if you can fit in the Raphael costume, you are going to be the new Raphael double, action double for the rest of the movie. And I was like, what? And he's like, and that's a SAG contract. You're now a SAG actor in an action movie doing that thing. Well, fortunately for me, when I went to what they call the creature shop, where they keep all the turtle costumes, They put the Raphael costume on me. But Nam, the stunt guy, was a guy from Hong Kong. He was his body fat was probably 3%. He was so much skinnier than I was. I was a working out mesomorph guy, 145 pounds. He was probably 118 pounds. Well, I couldn't fit in his Raphael costume. And they were like, well, it's not fitting. And I was like, oh, this is the end of my dream. It's over. But what I didn't realize was what I didn't realize was it was just, if not more important to them to solve this problem than it was for me to do whatever I was doing, because every day was costing them money. So they went in the back and they got turtle parts from other turtles, like Donatello's legs and Michelangelo's chest or whatever. And they put me in these different Frankenstein parts and then put the Raphael head on me, and it kind of fit. And I walked around and they were like, does it fit? And I was like, yeah. And I did some stuff. And they're like, okay, you're the new Raphael. And then from that moment, I got to do all the action and all the fighting and everything you see in the movie.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. It was, when you did like the, and then what? So you're playing that part for the rest of that movie, and then just, I don't know how soon after Ninja Turtles comes out, they decide to do a sequel, and you find out that they want you to play that part to do the same thing in the second movie. At first to be that same guy in the second movie. Yeah,
the first movie was over. And hey, let me tell you, if anybody's listening to us, which I'm sure they are, go check out turtleconfessions.com. If you go to turtleconfessions.com, you can see this book, and there's videos about stuff Bob and I are talking about, and it fills in a lot of the gaps of some of these things. Basically, what happened was I was hanging out, Bob, just like you said. We finished the first movie, and I was like, man, that's awesome. I was the stunt double for Raphael. I made it to a certain point. And Pat Johnson was like, hey, Ken, this looks like it's going to be a successful movie. Like, for some reason, there was an inkling. He said they're thinking about doing a sequel. So, if they do, we're going to give you the part of Raphael's stunt double again. You're going to do all the fighting, everything. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait. That's super cool. So in that phone call, when Pat told me that, I said to him, and Pat, just so you know too, my real goal is to be an actor, like I told you about a long time ago when you helped me get my card. And if there's any chance that I can be one of the actor turtles, that would be great. And Pat was like, slow down, Ken. Just be thankful you've got this job and everything's okay. I was like, you're right. Thank you, Pat. It's all good. Well, I don't know how long ago, sometime after that, I got another call from Pat Johnson. And he said, Ken, my son. And I said, oh, Pat, hi, what do you do? He said, I just want you to know that Josh Pace is not coming back for the second Ninja Turtles for whatever reason. I just thought you might like to know that, but you didn't hear it from me.
And he was the actor in the Raphael suit?
Yeah, Josh was the original actor. There's 4 guys that play each turtle. Josh Pace was the original Raphael actor who wore the suit that has all the robotics and motors in it that operate the face mechanism. And then Josh is the motion and body actor that coordinates that with the second guy who's a puppeteer that controls all those motors and servos that work the face. And the puppeteers all come from the Muppets and Henson and all that stuff. So you have an actor in a suit with robotics in it. Then you have a puppeteer off camera. Then you have a guy like me who wears a suit that does all the stunts. And I don't have any robotics so that I can get beat up and fall down and all that kind of stuff. And then a 4th guy does the voice at the end of the movie. Well, Josh has the distinction of being the only Ninja Turtle performer to be in the Ninja Turtle suit and provide the voice for his own character. All the other Ninja Turtles had different people give their voice to the characters. So basically, Josh was the actor and I was Josh.
I think Corey Feldman did one of the voices.
Yeah, Corey Feldman was the voice of Donatello, and Robbie Rist, who was cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch, was the voice of Michelangelo. Yeah. So, and Brian Tochi, who's in the Octagon.
Takashi.
And also, yes.
He's Takashi from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
I know who he is.
Nerds. I like hair pie. Yeah. He's the voice of Leonardo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we're all connected in this. That's why there's a lot of people that have been Ninja Turtles in different ways. And, when we talk about the title of the book, the real Raphael, that was always important, like to distinguish, okay, there's some kind of movie thing going on. Well, anyway.
Why didn't that guy do the second movie?
I can't say, I wouldn't even speculate.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was, it could have been anything that an actor wants. More money, more recognition, anything.
Could add another job. Bigger job.
Josh, who has a very successful career as an actor, was last seen, as far as I know, he's in the movie The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Josh plays his boss. When Joaquin Phoenix is the clown, Josh plays his boss in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see him in the original Ninja Turtle movie when there's the taxi cab scene, when Raphael is running away from Casey Jones. No, he's chasing Casey Jones from Central Park, the scene where the guy broke his nose. When Raphael runs out in the street, he gets a taxi cab. He rolls over the front of that taxi cab. Well, inside the taxi cab is a guy in the back seat that goes, "What was that?" Well, that's actually Josh Pace, who plays Raphael. He's the guy in the back that sees Raphael roll across, and I'm the guy that rolls across the hood.
Yeah, you say that in the book, how everybody got a chance to, all the guys that were the actors in the suits got chances to play, not themselves, but to be themselves on film in small scenes. That's pretty cool.
Everybody did it in the first movie, and then when the second movie rolled around and I became the actor Raphael, like we're kind of talking about, I was not smart enough to negotiate for that in my contract.
Well, you probably didn't know that, did you?
I didn't. I wasn't.
Were you even thinking of that?
I wasn't. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But every other performer in the movie has a scene where you can see them. You can see Leif Tilden, who plays Donatello, in a scene where he's a foot soldier. You can see Michelin Sisti in the second movie, who plays Michelangelo. He's April O'Neil's downstairs neighbor who asks her about her aerobics and stuff. And you can see Mark Casso, who plays Leonardo. He's in the newsroom, and he has like one line that he says to Michael Pressman, the director of the movie. So everybody's in the movie but me, because I didn't negotiate that in my contract.
Didn't you say in the second one, you're in like a Vanilla Ice scene where there was supposed to be like you running up to the stage or something?
They did do me a courtesy and tried to give me a featured extra part, where in that scene where Vanilla Ice is in the club, they actually started the shot with a scene with me running into the club. They tracked back with me.
Oh, yeah.
I ran into the club and I ran up to the stage like, yeah! And it was not used in the film. I'm guessing it was not used because I probably horrifically overacted in the scene and it was ridiculous. But it didn't make it to the movie, but it was going to be my one chance to be like, hey, there I am on the screen doing my thing, but it didn't make it. So you cannot see me anywhere in the movie, but that's because I'm the most ninja-like.
So after you do the second Ninja Turtle movie, do you move to LA right after that?
As soon as it's done, I spend the holidays, the end of the year holidays like Christmas with my family in North Carolina, and I buy myself a first class one-way ticket to Los Angeles. Moved out there, hooked up with about 4 other guys who were friends of mine that had already moved there from North Carolina. We had all planned to move out together, but I got delayed because I was working on a second Ninja Turtle movie. So my 4 friends moved out ahead of me to scout out the territory, get an apartment, figure it all out. And then as soon as Ninja Turtles was over at basically the end of 1990 is when we filmed the second movie, because it came out the very next year in 91. That's when I took off and flew out to California and hooked up and went from there, and then said, what's my next step in becoming an action hero in Hollywood?
What was the next thing you did after Ninja Turtles 2? Was that SHOWDOwn, or was there something before that?
Well, there were little intermittent things between SHOWDOwn. Ultimately, the next big thing I did was a feature film called SHOWDOwn, where I played, basically.
Yeah, no, that's one of my, if you're a martial arts fan, SHOWDOwn is basically like a Karate Kid type movie.
Karate Kid ripoff.
Yeah. Well, all right. I didn't know if I could say that or not. But yeah, with Billy Blanks, here's a funny thing. Anytime I've known who Billy Blanks is, since the late 80s, because I've always been into martial arts movies and renting movies. Every single person that I mentioned Billy Blanks to, I said, you know who Billy Blanks is? They're like, yeah, the Taibo guy. And I'm like, well, do you know anything else about him? And they're like, no. I go, so the first thing I'll say is, well, did you ever see The Last Boy Scout? He's the running back that shoots a guy, that pulls out a gun as he's running down the field with the football and shoots a guy. And they're like, oh, that guy? And I'm like, yeah. But also I said, if you IMDb him, he's got like 1 million Kung Fu movies. I go, that's why he did Taibo, was because he was like a professional, was he like a professional kickboxer? Or professional karate person?
Billy Blanks was Billy Blanks is an excellent martial artist.
Yeah.
First and foremost. I've known of Billy Blanks since I was a young teenager, 12, 13 years old, when Billy Blanks was competing on the karate tournament circuit on the East Coast. And he was winning point fighting tournaments all over the place. Point fighting is not full contact, but they fight hard sometimes, and Billy fought hard. And he was known for a thing called the cartwheel kick, which today they call a rolling thunder kick in MMA. But he basically just threw himself over and he'd bring that thing down on the back of your neck. So Billy was a super prominent martial arts instructor, martial arts practitioner, martial arts instructor, and martial arts competitor. Then, early in the 80s, actually it was the late 80s, actually when I was around working as an extra and filming the Ninja Turtle movies, Billy was the bad guy in a movie called King of the Kickboxers.
Oh yeah, I love it with
Yeah. And
I tell people all the time, if they're martial arts fans, I go, you got to watch that movie. That movie has great fight scenes.
King of the Kickboxers was Lorne Avedon, and Billy Blanks was basically the bad guy. He was the Dolph Lundgren or the Mr. T in that particular movie. And that was probably his first real appearance. He might have been some small things getting ready and some other stuff, but that was it. Well, after that movie, Roger Corman and all the other producers of the independent films, because home video was just becoming a thing. It was a gold mine. It was a land rush in those late 80s.
Rent the VHS.
Yeah.
That's how I saw Showdown the first time. I remember renting it.
Showdown, so Showdown was part of this canon of late 80s, early 90s martial arts movies. It was after the canon era of theatrical releases of things like Enter the Ninja and Return of the Ninja and Chuck Norris's theatrical movies that kept going on and more.
Sure.
And then it became the video market, Don the Dragon Wilson and Billy Blanks and Michael Dudikoff and all these guys.
American Ninja.
Yeah, all this stuff that was hitting the VHS home market, which was hungry for anything that could get made. And these independent producers could churn shit out faster than the studios could churn it out. Right. And they could fill the video stores up with it. Showdown was at the very end of that cycle of sort of those movies. And after that, there was a sea change in the economy and things that happened and all that. So I was at the end of all that. So Showdown was definitely a part of that. But Billy Blanks had come off those movies and done so many martial arts movies. But in addition to that, he was teaching these classes in LA on Ventura Boulevard. And he had created this successful business that celebrities were a part of.
Yeah, he was like a celebrity trainer.
Yeah. Because when he wasn't competing making low budget karate movies does not make you rich.
Right.
And it's a real struggle. You work for a long time, you make some money, it seems glamorous, but it's hard work and you're getting paid SAG minimums but you still have to work and do other things if you're not in the major leagues of all that.
Sure.
If you're going from one B movie to another, you can live that. It's like Bull Durham. The film business is like the movie Bull Durham. You can be Bull Durham and stay in the B movie leagues and do that for a full career. And sometimes you jump up to the majors or you start in the majors and then come down to the minors and do all that,
Right.
You look at guys like Dolph Lundgren and all that, and they start in the majors and they do these big things and then they have whole careers, very successful in world distribution videos of them taking revenge for an hour and a half in the desert.
Oh, you go on Amazon Prime. There's probably 10 Dolph Lundgren movies that I know people have never heard of.
Yeah, exactly. And Steven Seagal lives on movies people have never heard of at this point,
Oh yeah.
So you can do it, man. You can Bull Durham your way all along the way. So anyway, Billy was doing a lot of that. He was working really hard and trying. And Last Boy Scout, like as you mentioned, which is becoming more and more obscure with every year as well.
Right.
You know, that was his biggest, widest release of anything. But anyway, he got eventually to do Showdown. And Showdown, Billy had the most cachet. And so when they wanted to market a movie and create something, they worked with me. Well, we all met and they created this Karate Kid type script. And they wanted somebody with cachet and gravitas who could at least sell in the foreign market and do things. Because nobody knew me. I was nobody, you know?
The movie's new kid in town and, janitor teaches him karate.
Yeah. Instead of the superintendent of your apartment building.
To help with bullies, so to speak. There's a little more to it than that, but.
I'm the new kid in the high school. I fall in love with the beautiful blonde girl, but her boyfriend
Ben Stiller's wife.
Yeah. The bad karate guys.
What's her name?
Christine Taylor.
Yeah. She was in The Craft she's Dodgeball.
She ultimately went on to be in Dodgeball and all that. Christine was awesome. She's a super human being. She was beautiful on the inside and the outside too. It was great. Her first thing she went and did after Showdown with me, been playing my girlfriend, was she went on to do Marsha Brady in the Brady Bunch.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, she was in those 2 Brady Bunch movies. Yeah. It's funny. There's a scene. So if you're a martial arts fan, I mean, rent the movie Showdown. It's got great action scenes. But one thing that I just always find hilarious about that movie is
my performance.
So no, your performance is great, but you're just a regular kid, right? You're supposed to be just a regular high school kid, whatever. You accidentally look at somebody's girlfriend and the guy, wants to beat you up because of it. And you end up, training with the janitor who happens to be an ex-cop, and he
killed a guy by accident.
Yeah, accidentally. Yeah, pushed a guy down, and the guy hit his head and died. And Billy retired from the trauma and became a janitor. And
but he never carried a gun.
Yeah, that's true. But they show you, and the whole movie, you're like wearing big sweatshirts, big jackets, and then at the end of the movie, when you're in your final fight scene, let's say against your bully, you take off your shirt and you are just completely fucking ripped to where it's hilarious because when you took your shirt off, I was literally like, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, Jesus Christ, man, that guy's fucking. And then I remembered, then I was like, oh, they got him wearing like huge sweatshirts the whole time, so you can't tell that. I don't think there's at no point in the movie are you like ever wearing just like a t-shirt, or I mean, there might be when you're some of them near at the end when you're training, but it's close to the reveal. But when you rip your shirt off, I was just like, God damn, that guy's. I just thought it was funny because they didn't make you look like you were necessarily out of shape, but they certainly didn't make it look like you looked like a Solaflex guy.
Yeah, no, everything up to that moment was all long sleeves and loose clothing. That was the whole deal to that reveal. Now the reveal is ridiculous. I'm supposed to be a high school student, and at that point I was 5.3% body fat. This was my first opportunity to be an action hero on the screen, taking my shirt off on a movie screen.
You had the Van Damme.
I worked out.
There was no doubt you were the hero.
I worked out 4 times a day for probably 2 months leading up to that moment, if not more than that. And it was cardio in the morning, then weight training.
Yeah, it looked like you worked out a little bit for it.
Yep. And then it was martial arts, and then it was cardio again. And that's all I did to get ready for this movie, because I was like, I'm taking my shirt off. I need to look like Jean-Claude Van Damme. I need to look like an awesome action hero. And man, when I peeled that shirt off, it was awesome.
and the fight scenes you do are great. That's what I say this about Jackie Chan movies a lot. I'm like, or Jet Li, or any of these action movies. I'm like, you could just fast forward to the action parts because that's all they're, just like the action. And I'm like, even if you just watch Showdown, just fast forward to the action parts and you won't be disappointed because you're great at the action, man. I forget what kind of, it's not a front kick, but it's like a side kick that you throw. And like, let's say you throw it with your right foot and your foot like kind of goes like that.
Hook kick.
That's like the best hook kick I've ever seen on in the movies.
I
is that like one of seriously? Is that like one of your moves, so to speak? Classic moves.
Everything you saw at that time was one of my moves because I was trying to get what I could do on the screen. In today's day and age, when I look back to 1994, whenever it was we made this movie, gosh, when did we make it? 93, we made this movie. When I look back at that, I might be quoting the wrong date, but when I look back, what I did in that movie is so primitive and clunky compared to what you see, the fluidity of action, especially today, of action heroes and what's been on martial arts and everything. And you're your own worst critic, but I look at it and I'm just like, ugh. Most of that film, actually, Bob, for 90% of the movie, I take a beating. It's only in the end of the movie that I, at the end, pull my shirt off in this great scene.
Well, you kick the bully in the nuts out in the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but there's no moves, there's no coolness about it.
Yeah, but even that last fight of the movie is worth it, man. The whole last fight between you and your bully, and then you don't really fight the bad guy, the main bad guy that much. He kind of slaps you down.
No, he punched me once to get me out of the ring, and Patrick Kilpatrick, who I love and I also am in awe of, because he's got a crazy, interesting, fun energy, Patrick Kilpatrick, and he puts it on the screen. And when he was in the fight scenes, man, he walks up to me after I'm celebrating my victory with my arms up in the air, Patrick Kilpatrick punches me in the base of my spine in a scene, and man, that guy popped me hard. Bam! And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, and we had to do it like 2-3 times maybe, but I was getting pissed off. But that was the only thing he had to do to me. Then he fought Billy Blanks, and he and Billy Blanks were kind of going, and Billy did not like, I can't speak for Billy, but I will say this. It's my understanding and impression that Billy put some mustard into some of the techniques that he laid on to Patrick at certain times, because Patrick was not afraid to put some mustard into what he was laying into Billy.
Did Patrick have any martial arts experience?
No, Patrick had no martial arts experience.
I could tell.
not at the level of a Billy Blanks or anything like that. But he's a fantastic, in-depth actor in what he does. And he committed to the moves.
Yeah, he's great. He plays a lot of great bad guys.
Yeah, and he's kind of MMAing it in the movie, and he's before MMA, there's a little bit of shoot fighting feeling to it, but he's just playing the character. And if you go back and watch the movie, you can see a couple of moments where Billy like grabs Patrick and he holds him. This is in the final fight when they're fighting each other, and he grabs Patrick by the lapels, and then he does like a jump spinning back kick and kicks Patrick in the torso.
Oh,
and he pushes and he hits Patrick.
Oh yeah, you can tell that he connected.
Yeah, and so when they were shooting those scenes, they were both into it in their own ways, and that was really exciting to watch.
That's awesome. It was funny when we were talking about you taking your shirt off and saying how it was like a ridiculous reveal of you when you ripped your shirt off. I wanted to talk about martial arts movies and your martial arts experience, and you did a movie called Sworn to Justice with Cynthia Rothrock.
Yeah.
But the other guy in that movie, Kurt McKinney, he was the star of Van Damme's first movie, No Retreat, No Surrender. Which is, you can watch it on YouTube. That's another, it's a terrible movie, but the fight scenes but I think it was one of those Hong Kong like Corey Yun or somebody, one of those guys directed No Retreat, No Surrender, that became famous, much more famous years later. But the fight scenes are actually filmed more like a Hong Kong movie than an American movie. Yeah. So they're like, I think they sped them up a little bit. But in this movie, Sworn to Justice, I don't know how many times you've seen it. I just watched it last night.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the movie, you play the bad guy. You play one of the bad guys. And
I'm the Darth Vader.
Yeah. And but when Kurt McKinney and Cynthia Rothrock will just say, at the end, they come in to fight you and your guys. They're both the good guys. They come in to fight you and your gang of bad guys. And Kurt McKinney comes in and he's wearing a long sleeve white shirt. I mean, you're probably not going to remember this. And it's kind of like unbuttoned about halfway down. Starts fighting a guy. Then the guy grabs his shirt and just pulls it off, but it's so like I had to rewind it because I was like, wait, that didn't even. I'm like, that guy like grabbed his shirt on purpose. Like it was so funny. And then the rest of the next 5 minutes to the end of the movie, this guy's fighting. Kurt McKinney's fighting with his shirt off, just throwing kicks. And I was like, wow, and then it was like, well, where's Kenn Scott taking his shirt off?
Hell yeah, Bob.
He's still got to be. I mean, even that's like the only movie Cynthia Rothrock took her shirt off.
That's true. Everybody was getting shirtless in there but Kenn Scott. Well, there's a lot of homoeroticism about that part of it. I felt that my character, Eugene, at one point, because I'll tell you this, as whatever the movies are that I've done, but that movie, that's my best acting that's ever been caught on film. That movie was done after I had taken acting classes and really studied and developed my craft.
Well, there's probably more to that character than a lot of the other characters you played.
Well, yeah, and I've only played
more depth to it.
The characters I played is a short list. So, Showdown and certainly Sworn to Justice are two of the bigger parts that I've played. And in Showdown, as an actor, I rode hard on what I believed was just my charisma and innate ability.
Sure.
And I succeeded in some ways on that, and I failed in other ways on that. Then later in life, as I continued to pursue my craft and trying to make my living and be an action person, an action hero, I delved further into the craft of acting than I had previously. And so delving further into it and really studying acting with the same intensity that I'd studied martial arts, the very next job I got after all this intensive training in acting was Sworn to Justice, playing the bad guy. And the reason I got the job was because of all the training I had done, the way I'd gone through the audition and all this stuff. So here I was playing the bad guy in this movie, and it was Cynthia Rothrock's first and sexiest movie made by these producers in America, and I was playing like the bad guy. I was young, I was small, and I was going up against 45-year-old men who were supposed to be the James Bond style villain, was what they were looking for. And when the agent sent me on it, I was like, I walked into the room and it was every like 6 foot tall, handsome actor with the thing and any sort of martial arts basic abilities. They were going to be the bad guy in the movie. And I was like, I ain't got a chance at this thing. But I went in and I did acting the way my acting teacher had taught me. I did my martial arts the way.
Did you have the beard? I mean, I know you had the beard in the movie. Did you audition with the beard?
I'm sure I did. I had a beard auditioning for the movie.
You think? I mean, did you find out after the audition? Did you already like have the beard, or did you think, oh, I got to look older?
No, I had the beard for a while. It was just part of who I was being. This is, this comes and goes. I'm willing to shave my beard anytime, but it is just part of my face, and it's been around for a long time.
Right.
So yeah, I had it at that particular point. I think I had a lot of Canadian friends at that point, and I was trying to appear more artistic to meld in with them. So I felt a beard made me appear more Canadian, maybe. So
nice.
Yeah, so anyway, so I landed the role. I beat out all these other dudes, and I got this job in Sworn to Justice. So anyway, that's my best acting, but it's also a kooky situation, man, because like there's a scene in that movie where I'm holding my dead brother's corpse, and if you look closely, the guy's alive. Like his eyes are blinking, and his lips are quivering.
Well, he was supposed to have been blown up and on fire.
Yeah, he was burned, and I don't. Sometimes
it was kind of low budget.
I didn't understand what the director or the editor were getting out of that scene. I just don't know, why you would do something like that. But you miss the oddest things, Bob. You see the oddest things. For instance, maybe you don't know this. In the original Ninja Turtle movie, the very first time you see a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on a movie screen ever in history is the opening credits of the first film. And it happens that they're walking down the sewer after they just had a fight in total darkness, rescuing April O'Neil, and you see their shadows on the sewer wall. And the screen freezes, and the credit comes up, and it goes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then the credit goes away, and then the action starts again. And one by one, the Ninja Turtles jump into camera, saying something like, awesome, bodacious. Well, each time each turtle jumps into camera, they didn't realize that they would see so low when the turtles jumped up. So not one of the turtles is wearing their turtle legs. So from the knee down in the movie, you can see it. you'll see these stark white Lycra socks that come down that they're wearing on their calves down to their feet. So, and as
yeah, that's the kind of stuff you would be, how does nobody catch this?
Right. And once you know it, once somebody points it out to you, you can't not see it.
Right. That's awesome. Well, hey, we're almost done here. I appreciate you doing this. I wanted to ask you about one other movie you were in, and you say in your book that it sucked really bad. Was Star Hunter?
Oh yeah.
And the reason, like, I just, I contacted you like a month ago, and it took me a while to get back to you. I read the book and I wanted to watch a bunch of your movies, and I watched this movie Star Hunter because I Googled, IMDb'd your name to see what shows and movies you've been on. And Star Hunter is, as you say in your book, it's like a Predator ripoff. You're just you and a bunch of high school kids basically get hunted by an alien that looks like at least his head looks like a knockoff Predator. And your character's name is Pitchell, which I had to like rewind as I'm watching it, and I'm like, what the hell is his name? Where was that? Didn't that sound like a weird name? Your first name was your first name, Pitchell?
No, that was my last name.
Okay, but even so, that's what. All right. I guess it's not as funny as I thought it was if it's your last name.
No, and I, you caught me off guard with that because that's the two names of the two guys, me and the character played by Sean Donahue. We have two last names. It's Pitchell, and I can't remember the other guy's last name at this point. And those two names are significant for some reason. Those two people are somebody that was significant to the writers. But at this particular point, I don't know what it was, and I couldn't tell you.
Well, yeah, that could make sense. Well, it says you were Pitchell and Sean Donahue played Spivak.
Yeah, those two names are something.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't mean to mock anybody if they're names. I just thought it was odd that your name was Pitchell, and then I didn't even realize, oh, that could be your last name. My last name's Biggerstaff, so I don't know what names are real and what's not. So, heck, Kenn Scott's not even your real name.
Well, it is my real name. It's just not my full name.
Correct. All right, if you want to get technical,
my full name is Kenn Scott Traum, but just like probably on this podcast talking to you, when I was on the phone and nobody can understand Traum. What was that? How do you spell it? How do you say it? And I was like, all right, it's just Kenn Scott, So
yeah, people say that to me. They're like, Biggerstaff, how do you spell that? And I go, Bigger Staff.
Right.
They're like, oh, just like it sounds. Yep.
Yeah. You should have started with that.
Well, hey, Kenn, I really appreciate you doing this podcast. It was great to talk to you. I mean, I've been a fan of yours for years. Can I ask you, so when did you if you want to say, leave Hollywood? I don't know. I mean, are you still doing stuff? And I know you're like an advertising executive.
No,
an advertising company.
I stayed in Hollywood for 22 years from about 1990 until about 2013 or so. And then I moved to Texas.
What made you, I mean, I lived in Houston up until 2 years ago. What made you and you're in Dallas, right? Fort Worth area?
Which is not Dallas. I live in Fort Worth. So I get it straight. I live in Fort Worth, not Dallas.
I got you.
But I'm not a Texas guy. My family are not Texas people. I'm born in New York. My parents were New Yorkers, but I grew up in North Carolina. So I'm a Southerner with New York parents. But then I spent most of my life in Los Angeles. So I feel most like a Californian. But several years ago, I moved to Fort Worth, Texas, because my brother lives here. And he's a successful hand surgeon. And I had been in Los Angeles. I had done my thing there. And I was working in advertising and marketing. That's what I did for a living. And there were opportunities for me taking other parts of the country. And it just so happens Fort Worth was one of those places to take that opportunity. And it was near my brother. So I moved to Fort Worth. Now I'm the chief creative officer of a successful advertising agency, which is great.
You like it there?
I'm sorry?
Do you like it there in Fort Worth?
I love it. Fort Worth has been great to me. It's
awesome.
It's a great place. It's great for your own economic development. It's great for civic economic development. People are nice. There's a lot of horses and cowboy hats and country music here, which isn't necessarily in my genes. But I'm a stranger in a strange land. So I got nothing. It's all good by me.
Well, before all this pandemic stuff, I mean, I was, I'm a stand-up comedian and, traveling around the country. And I used to play the Hyenas clubs, and there's one in Dallas, one in Fort Worth, and one in Plano. I used to play them all like once a year. Hopefully, once all this stuff ends, I get back up there. I'd love to have you come out and see a show and have me make you laugh.
Come to Hyenas in Fort Worth.
I will.
I don't go to Dallas. Come to Hyenas in Fort Worth.
Of course, I know it's not close.
Come in, give me a table. I'm in. We're setting up. I'll be right there. I'll bring people. We'll fill the house.
You got it, man. Awesome. I really appreciate you doing this podcast. Not sure what I'm going to call it, but this is the first episode, and glad to have Kenn Scott from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Show your book again.
It's right here. It's Teenage Ninja to Mutant Turtle, Becoming the Real Raphael.
Interesting story of, it's Kenn Scott. Pretty much you say, I told somebody it's like this guy's life from birth until Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, until the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, that's it. But the birth to the Ninja Turtles part is very short. Once you get to the Ninja Turtles, then it kind of moves on pretty quickly. That's mostly what this, for people who like.
It's a cool Hollywood story in North Carolina.
This is, if you like the Ninja Turtle movies, the original ones from 1990 and Secret of the Ooze, this is the first and only book about behind the scenes and what was going on and who was who and who did what and funny things that happened and all this stuff about the book. It's really a fun book. And right now, it's the 30th anniversary of the first movie, so the book is available for just $9.99 on Amazon. It's usually $14.95 in paperback, but right now it's like $9.99. And you can go to turtleconfessions.com and check it all out. There's videos of interviews with me and all kinds of cool stuff, behind the scenes photos and Ninja Turtle photos you can download at turtleconfessions.com.
I would even tell people, if you're not even a Ninja Turtles fan, not even interested in it, it's a good Hollywood, how an actor worked his way into Hollywood. I mean, it's a great great behind the scenes look. So thanks again, Kenn. I really appreciate it. And I'll let you know when I post this podcast.
Appreciate it, Bob. I'll see you, man.
Buddy. Nice meeting you.
You too.